Welcome back, my ghouls and goblins. Today we're going to be doing my 2025 recap of all the books I read last year, and I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on them. It's going to be the good, the bad, the sad, the ugly, and grandeur. If you don't know, I'm a creature of the night. I say that all the time, and you are also creatures of the night, I presume, because creatures of the night are drawn to one another. And we're also drawn to literature, specifically the dark academic kind. And specifically, I don't know about any other creatures of the night, but I'm drawn to monsters. I love vampires, werewolves, the Leviathan, whatever. I like reading about monsters. And I thought, why don't I went through this whole vampire journey at the beginning of the year, and I was like, why don't I look at the foundation of the vampire genre, which is Dracula, the first book we'll be talking about. And why don't I just look at modern adaptations of the story and see how I feel? I DNF'd this. I was so surprised. A lot of my friends were surprised I DNF'd this because I love Dracula. That is just a part of my human experience. And this really disappointed me. It's an epistolary novel, so we learn about the characters through letters, journal entries, diary entries, different things like that. And that is my not my preference. I don't like epistolary novels, and if I do read one, I would prefer that it's done exceptionally well. I heard a lot of people felt like this did that, but I don't think it did. That whole like the mental hospital section was so long. And I mean, how many times can I read about Igor eating bugs and trying to eat a cat? I genuinely can't. Well, I couldn't finish it. I thought the most interesting perspective in here was not Mina, but her friend Lucy's. She has a quote in here where she basically says, I don't want to be free. Like, she's like, I could be free, but I don't want to be free. It's something about someone wanting love so bad that they like the idea of love almost consuming them to the point of imprisonment that I find a really fascinating mentality to read about. And I liked her perspective on that. And she's also just a very entertaining girl. She's that girl. She has every man in her life is proposing to her. And her humor with the whole situation is really funny. She gives a very useful a vibe to her. So she was her and reading about Dracula through other people was interesting. Other than that, Mina and Dr. Harker, I'm pretty sure that's his name, hated it. This one really hurt and shocked me. I'm gonna tell you, this really hurt and shocked me. This is Fledgling. It's not Kendra at all. It's Fledgling by the Octavia E. Butler. She is a goat of the speculative fiction genre. Every time I review a book from her, I say that because it's true. I love Octavia because she put us in a genre that typically left us out. We didn't see a lot of our selves in there, and she's sensational at that. I feel like every writer has a book, at least one, that is like an unloved child. And this was Octavia's. I couldn't get into this. I was happy to find out I wasn't the only one who couldn't get into it, though I'm okay if I am the only one. All of the things that I love her writing for, I felt like were cut in half here. I didn't love it. And it's a vampire book. And I thought it would be so interesting. I have a full review on that. I'm going to link that down below. You should watch it. I hated it. Carmilla. Because again, this predates Dracula. This was the book that inspired Dracula. It is sapphic, which is why I thought I would love it. Sapphic vampires, you would think. Hated it. It's a very short book, and it was extremely difficult for me to get through it. I found it boring, slow paced. I thought the main character was too out of touch. I also found the vampire who she falls for, it felt unrequited, this story. I like this book because it came with pictures. I haven't read a picture book since I was young, obviously, but like The illustrations in here are amazing. I love this edition that I got. Love it. Cover, the artwork, everything in here is great, but the story very difficult to get through, and you can predict everything, as I did. And I don't like predictable stories. And I don't feel like the vibe, yes, it was, the setting was haunting and, what we typically expect of something in a dark academic genre, but it left me wanting way more. And now I'm going to get into the books that were middle ground for me. They weren't bad, they weren't great, they were good. Back at the vampire, I told you I started the year off with vampires. This is by S.T. Gibson. This was a popular one on Book Talk. This is Diary of Blood, and it was good. It wasn't great. It didn't knock my socks off. I think the aspects of it that I liked is how she uses the vampire, the like framework of the story to address abuse and relationships, and also power dynamics in abusive relationships concerning men and women. And also, you know, queer couples too, like, because not every relationship in here is heterosexual. And I love that. I think she did a great job describing the implicit and insidious nature of abuse, especially psychological abuse. And then we have more apparent forms of it, like physical ones. This is I putting a trigger warning in this one. This is, she details it, the abuse, but I think she did an incredible job using the genre and the blueprint of Dracula's lore and story to talk about such a heavy subject. I thought the ending was very predictable, and even worse than predictable, I found it unbelievable. It felt like everything was won quite easily, and Dracula was not the formidable foe we would assume him to be. And I didn't like that. This book I almost rated 5 stars. Almost. This is a really high, like, this is good. I rated a 4 out of 5, probably like 4.3, 4.5 out of 5. This is Hunchback by Sao Ichikawa. She was longlisted, I believe. Yes, longlisted for the International Booker Prize. That means you're goated sometimes. But Mama earned this, okay? I love this story. I think it's short, but it is meaty, okay? It will not disappoint you. The main character has a physical disablement, and she's a very rich girl, okay? She lives in the care facility that her family owns, and she is also a sexual being. And she talks about that the
The dichotomy of it all, right?
the dichotomy of her experience um incredibly well. This taught me a lot. I had unfortunately never read a book with a main character who was disabled at the center, and that is to my own ignorance. This is amazing, and I definitely want to read more stories with characters, and also not just the characters, go through this experience with physical disablement, but the author herself, the baddie herself. I'm obsessed with her. Oh my god, I love this picture of her in the back. That's Mama right there, Miss Ichikawa. Yes, it's so demure. It's very. I wrote a Booker Prize like long listed book. She's coy. She's cute. The writing is great. It's quick. I think the main character's frustration with her physical existence and how she presents in the world, versus how she truly would like to present and how she would like to experience her body as a sexual being. Incredibly well written. The reason why I couldn't push it to a 5 was I do think this could have been longer, to be honest. I really loved the ending. That shocked me, and it was great. I think it could have been longer. I wanted to get more into certain aspects of the story, especially the climax. But I respect that she chose to end it when she ended it. The picture of Dorian Gray is the grandfather of the dark academic genre, and it lived up to everything I ever would have thought an Oscar Wilde book would live up to. It feels well worth the hype and the centuries of, or I don't know if it's centuries, but clearly years of study people have put into, just reading this book and reviewing it. It felt like Oscar Wilde's analytical deep dive on the 1% and how they view those less fortunate than them. And I deeply, deeply resonated with how he talks about vanity and how vanity is something that is a shared experience between whether you're rich or poor or any shade, if there are any still in between. If you are willing to read an Oscar Wilde book, because respectfully, he was a monstrous man. I get if you don't. But if you are interested, I do think it's worth the read. My Dark Vanessa. This has one of my favorite quotes of the year in it. Towards the end, it says, or Vanessa says to herself, I have so much capacity for good. And that really stuck with me. This is a trigger warning. This book does not shy away from the emotional and mental manipulation of an abuser, especially one in a authority position. I myself could relate to this as my friend and my twin sister. We all read this together. Like one finished it, passed it to the other, and then the other passed it to me. This struck me, and it's a quick read. Stephen King gave like his review on the back, and he was just like, it's Stephen King says, My Dark Vanessa is a hard story to read and an even harder one to put down. He's right. It's so hard to read because she does not shy away from the assault scenes. This is about SA as well, so another trigger warning. It's incredible. I love this story because Vanessa is not a sympathetic victim in the eyes of many, and she's a hard perspective to be in. However, we can see the effects of her abuse on her. And I, as a young woman, a black young woman, and I do believe the statistics say that 1 in 5 black women have girls, not even women, have experienced SA at some point in their life of any degree. And I do think a lot of women, no matter your race, belief systems, you can relate to it on some horrid level. Babel by R.F. Kuang. I am an R.F. Kuang simp, okay? I am a fan girl. Like, mother, I love her. She is this is a modern dark academic aesthetic story. The way R.F. Kuang is a storied and exceptionally academic writer and woman. A lot of people feel like her books are not reachable enough, but I do believe that her stories, though they can feel like very high diction, I do think it's middle diction. And by middle diction, I mean it's something that, be you an academic, be you someone who's not an academic, like every shade of gray in between, a general reader can read this book and get a lot from it. She talks a lot about history, slavery, the opioid war crisis, more like, from between China and the UK, Britain. And this stunned me. This was daunting for me to read. I hadn't read a 500 and something page book in years. This was an easy read, a quick one. I thought all the characters, and look, our Kwok is an Asian woman, right? So I knew she would write our main character, who is half Asian, half white, extremely well. I felt like she could, when you are when you have characteristics of a person, it's easier for us as writers to write into that experience. Like I can write into a black character's experience because I'm black. Um, but there are other characters in here, white, and specifically, there's a black girl in this book. She does not downplay her experience, her stories, and she shows you how intersectionality can play into even the closest of friends. How on some level we may be missing each other because of that intersectional experience, specifically with Letty, the white girl. And I thought this it was an easy 5 stars. This is the first edition book I ever bought, and I love her. So I think you should read it. Give R.F. Kuang a chance, y'all. She's amazing. Stag Dance by Teray Peters. Miss Teray Peters did her dang thing. This is a collection of short stories, and Stag Dance is the title of one of the latter short stories in here, and it's the best one. I had never read a work that just deconstructed sexuality and gender identity and spoken to a lot of different experiences that I had never thought about before. This made me a better writer and a better human and a better member of the queer community. I love this book. I think this is the book that I think about the most as the year ends. I would 100%, I want to reread it now, honestly. But if you are somebody interested in learning more and also exploring at times horrifying aspects of gender identity, read Teray Peters, specifically Stag Dance. I want to read Detransition Baby, which is the book that got her quite famous. Not enough people read this. Read that. And then my last book that I read is by the great James Baldwin, The Fire Next Time. That book astounded me and is one of the books that is a continual reminder that the Black experience is an American experience and is deeply a part of the American, history and construct. And it has long lasting effects, okay? People are like, why are you always talking about slavery? Because the effects of it are long lasting and we still have very insidious um, versions of it existing in today. But we also have blatant physical violence against Black folks um, and other people, but specifically the Black experience is what James Baldwin talks about. And he's so. What I love about him is at one time in his life he said that he saw himself as a viewer to American society and specifically the Black experience of that. He never really felt like he was a part of groups, but that his job was to be a journalist to those situations. And I think that him having that perspective just makes you view a situation that as he would, and he writes so effortlessly, poetically, but also so straightforward. He makes you question things like religion. Um, if you're a Black person in an urban neighborhood, he makes you question why society has placed you here, how you feel about it, how that's connected to this and sexuality and your family. Like, it stunned me. I'm reading Ta-Nehisi Coates's Between the World and Me, which feels like a modern interpretation of that, but it's foundational. This is like classic American literature and you should read it. Taught me so much about myself and then also helped address certain parts of me that were like afraid to look into certain aspects, like when it comes to religion. I think Black folks in America, specifically with Christianity, Islam, like especially during James Baldwin times, those two get compared a lot. And a lot of Black folks were drawn to Islam because of the diversity. We can see that in how Malcolm felt about it. And period. Islam is I was gonna say Islam is cunt. Islam is great. Any religion is great and flawed, but I think his perspective on why he was interested in it and learning more about it as someone who grew up in a like traditional, I'm pretty sure Pentecostal Christian church, like I thought it was so fascinating and you should read it. That is all for now, my ghouls and goblins. If you have any questions about the books I've read or you want to, get into my Gagiana more, I'm gonna link videos down below for you to get into my gag. Like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me what if you've read any of these books and what were the books that pissed you off and then also like made you love reading again. Thank you.